Hey, this is Mark Williams of Swine Barbecue. Today's our first cook in our new outdoor cooking area, and what better way to break it in than some giant beef ribs. We're gonna get them seasoned up with a little bit of Mississippi grit and then come back with some coarse ground black pepper to really showcase them Texas flavors. We're gonna be cooking these ribs today on the Outlaw Patio Smoker running about 275, and we're gonna cook them till they're good and tender. Let's get started. The first thing we have to do is just get some of the silver skin off the top of these beef ribs. Now they got a ton of fat. I'm not worried too much about that, but you can see right here, this is nothing but silver skin. That's not gonna render, your rub's not gonna penetrate that. So all we're gonna do is just come in here with a good sharp knife and just shave a little bit of that off. Kind of expose that red of that meat, all that marbling in these beef ribs. We picked these beef ribs up from the Butcher Shoppe down in Pensacola, Florida. The quality of beef you get from Kevin and his team down there is unbelievable. Now what you see me doing here, that sharp edge right here on the outside of that cut, I'm gonna kind of round it off. That way you don't have any sharp corners anywhere, and that's not gonna wanna overcook or burn right there on them edges. We're gonna leave this fat here. We're gonna try to render as much as we can. Now on the back side, you have a membrane, but this is not like a pork rib membrane. I'm gonna leave this intact. That way it holds these ribs together because they are gonna be super tender with the finished product. Now it's time to get some seasoning on them. Now I'm not gonna worry about seasoning this back side. That membrane's so thick, you're not doing any good. So what I am gonna do is get this top side, all the edges, a good layer of seasoning. So we got our Mississippi grit. It's a salt, pepper, garlic based rub. And this is a pretty good sized chunk of meat, so we're gonna go a little heavy. Get it patted in, same thing, we'll go down the edges. These salts will start working on this beef. You already can see some of that moisture is pulling out. That's exactly what we want. And then I got a good coarse ground black pepper we got from Towns and Spice. If you're ever looking for a good spice company, especially with raw ingredients, Towns has some of the best there is. Now we're going a good heavy layer of black pepper on top. And that's it. We'll get this Outlaw fired up and then we'll get these beef ribs on. So today we're cooking on the Outlaw Patio model. To get it fired up, I'm gonna fill the basket up with some Royal Oak all natural briquettes, place 2 tumbleweeds underneath and get them lit. Make sure all your doors and vents are open, that way this fire can get plenty of oxygen and we'll be up to temp ready to cook in no time. So we got a good bed of coals going. What I'm gonna do, got a little bit of pecan here. We're gonna go ahead and get us a good split on before we get these ribs on. So we'll just get it nestled in them coals. We'll give it just a few seconds to catch and then get the door shut. This Outlaw Patios come right on up to 275. Let's get these beef ribs on. So I'm gonna place them in here, center of the rack, the thinner portion toward the firebox. We're gonna let these roll for about an hour. We'll come out here and give them a look, and then we'll probably go ahead and start spritzing with water at that time. These beef ribs been on for an hour. Let's see what kind of color we got. Oh yeah, you can tell that bark's already starting to set, so we're gonna go ahead and give it a spritz of water. All I'm wanting to do is hit the dry spots, keep that bark good and moist, that way it maintains a good color throughout the cook. And then we'll get the lid shut. Outlaw still running 275. We'll check on it in another hour. These ribs have been on for 2 hours. Let's see how they're looking. Oh yeah, bark set up good. That fat's starting to get good and sticky. We're gonna go ahead and give them one more spritz. I say they got about another 30 minutes, and then we're gonna get these wrapped in some butcher paper and let them get good and tender. So we've took these ribs off the Outlaw Patio. They went about 2.5 hours before they were ready to wrap. Now you're gonna have to judge your color according to your cook. It may take a little bit longer. Then again, it may get that color you want just a little bit quicker. So we got some butcher paper here. We're gonna get it wrapped up tight. That way we keep this bark we worked so hard to get. So all I'm gonna do, get them kind of centered on that paper, pull this first portion over the top, fold it once, fold the sides back over, and roll it one more time just like that. So we're gonna get these back on the pit. We probably got about an hour and a half to go to get them good and tender. We're gonna take these about 205. That way they just almost fall off the bone. You know it's gonna be some good eating. Let's get them back on the pit. So these beef ribs have been on for 4.5 hours. I've checked them a few minutes ago. We're getting really close. They should be ready to come off. So all I'm gonna do is take my ThermoWorks thermal pen, go through that butcher paper, and kind of, you're judging really feel. You want it to be just like room temperature, almost warm butter. And it's super soft, and you can see we're sitting at 206. I'm calling these done. So what I'm gonna do, ease them up. I'm gonna place them in some foil and loosely wrap them. That way I don't make a mess of my cooler during the rest process. Just get them wrapped up a little bit. These will go in a little Yeti cooler. We're gonna let them rest for an hour and then we'll be ready to cut into them. We allowed these beef ribs to rest in a dry cooler for about an hour. Just as a quick recap, we start off a 3-bone section of some huge beef ribs we picked up from Butcher Shoppe, Pensacola. Got them seasoned with a little bit of grit and a lot of pepper to really bring on them good Texas flavors, and got them on that Outlaw pit. We ran them for about 2.5 hours, got the good color we want on that bark, and then wrapped them in butcher paper. The good thing about that butcher paper is you save all that bark you worked hard for. Took them to a good tenderness, about 205, and now they're ready to eat. So I'm gonna cut these into 1-bone sections. All I'm gonna do, as you can tell, it's easy to see the bone. I'm gonna slice right down the middle. Go ahead and do this one the same way. And that right there is a thing of beauty. Let me lay them this way so y'all can see them good. These dudes are packed full of moisture. If that ain't a good shot right there, I don't know what is. Man, look at that. Got that good jiggle. Woo. Now the moment of truth. I'm gonna go for this monster right here in the middle. I mean, if that ain't a heck of a slab of beef, we just can go right in. Man, when they say that's a brisket with a handle, it is. Salt and pepper really shines through on that bark. And I mean, it is unreal the amount of moisture in these beef ribs. Good smoke ring. I don't know that I can sit here and finish this one rib by myself. It is so rich and just packed full of flavor. Of course, we got to do one of the all telltales. You know that's a tender piece of beef. Go in here on the side. I mean, even deep down by that bone, still packed full of flavor. That's an excellent piece of beef. That's a wrap for us today at Swine Life. We appreciate you checking this video out. If y'all got any questions, don't hesitate. Shoot us a message on Facebook or Instagram. And as always, like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see y'all next time.